For centuries, the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit have gathered at the river. Their footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. In 1873, George and John McDougall established a Methodist mission in Morley, and John commenced a bi-weekly circuit of the territory, traveling by horseback to Fort Calgary and as far south as Fort Macleod. John McDougall sent reports to Ottawa on the territory's whiskey trade. As a result, the federal government formed the Northwest Mounted Police and sent them westward to restore order. In 1875, the Northwest Mounted Police established Fort Calgary at the confluence of the Bow and Elbow rivers. Fort Calgary became a gathering place for settlers, traders, and Indigenous people. In November of that same year, the first worship service was offered by McDougall at the fort. As a missionary, McDougall was well respected, negotiating on behalf of the Indigenous people, and in 1877 at the Blackfoot Crossing was a signatory to Treaty 7. Imagine what it would have been like to stand in the middle of the wide open prairie landscape, and imagine a multicultural city with more than 1 million inhabitants some 100 years later. Times that followed weren't always respectful to the Indigenous people, but Central stands behind the 2 apologies by the United Church of Canada for the atrocities of the residential school program, and we are committed to truth and reconciliation. In 1904, our church was central to the life in the heart of the new city. Our history featured concerts and recitals in the early days, demonstrations during the Depression, and now recovery programs. And so here we are, 150 years on, and all that remains of the fort down by the river is the palisade replica and an interpretive center. The link between the church, settlers, and the First Nations here in the heart of the frontier was, however, forged forever. And so now the torch has been passed to us. We must now ask what it would be like to stand in the heart of the city and imagine a community, one that honors right relations with our neighbors. Today at Central, we affirm our commitment to the principles and actions of reconciliation. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge Mohkinstsis and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and oral practices of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, as well as the Stoney Nakoda and Tsuut'ina nations. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. Finally, we acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis and Inuit, whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries, and affirm our commitment to the principles and actions of reconciliation.